Hi there again. Now we're going for take 2 of this live video. Oh, my book's attacking me. So we're going for take 2, and hopefully this time the connection will last a bit longer and be a bit stronger. However, I've just played back the first connection that was telling me it was terrible, it was bad, it was poor, and I didn't really see too much wrong with it. So I'm just going to plough on regardless, and we'll see what happens. Either you'll get a ton of useful information, or it'll be garbled, in which case you won't be watching it anyway. So we will see how that goes. So as I said before, we're going to be talking a little bit about this particular swatch, which is the Wild Oats pattern, and it uses a technique based around a slip stitch. So it's slipping the stitches, and if I just show you exactly what I mean for those who don't know, now I'm going to try and balance against gravity. You have these long stitches which are slipped for several rows, and then they're brought back into the working of the knitting, and that is called a slip stitch. And so where you've got them coming across at an angle and then at another angle, they're just slipping depending upon whether you're taking your needle to the back or to the front of the work. So if you move your cable needle to the front, the cabling effect of the stitches is that they go up to the left. Now that's up to my left, but I have no idea which direction that's actually going to show. I have a feeling it's going to reverse it when you see it live, but it is going up to the left. And if you bring the cable needle to the back of the work, then it goes up to the right. You can see that slightly more clearly on this piece of work, and I'm going to shuffle forwards. This is a new pattern that I am working on, which is the textilis scarf, which is just Latin for textured, and hopefully you can see on there that we've got a woven pattern where everything is just, so we've got to the left, to the right, to the left, to the right, and that's just alternating with each row. And that is done simply by moving your cable needle either to the back or to the front of the work. Where you see these kind of more traditional elements, now can we get that in the light? You've got more traditional elements where this is slightly more complicated in terms of its, I don't know if you can see that. This is why I don't work on dark colours. I work on light colours so that they can actually be seen. And that's not working at all. There we go. We've got some nice shading there at last. So you can see that that pattern has elements which go off to the right, elements which go to the left, and they curl around each other. Now, we will be working towards something of this complexity by the end of the week. Don't panic, we're not launching into that anytime soon. But this is what is more traditionally considered a cable, whereas this is not necessarily thought of that way with slit stitches. However, you slip them onto a cable needle. So as far as I'm concerned, yes, it is a cabling technique. Now, when I referred to the cable needle, a standard cable needle looks like this, with the sort of kinky bit in the middle. So this is where your stitches would sit as you move them to the back or to the front. And so that is how the stitches are held securely. However, if you are only working with 1 or 2 stitches at a time, you don't necessarily need to use a formal cable needle. You could use a stitch marker, or you could just use the end of an interchangeable needle set, and this is what I use in my demonstration because it's a lot easier to see the rosewood against the yarn than it is to see the grey against the yarn. So that's why I'm using this. But you could use anything that is a small section that will fit smoothly into your yarn and won't actually snag anything out of the way. And one of the lovely things that I like about cables, sorry, referring back to my notes there in my lovely Mother's Day notes book, is that you can actually create pictures, you can create images out of the cables, rather than just creating a cable that goes up or a cable that goes across. You can create items and images. So one that springs to mind instantly is a spider in a web, which you can create with really long elongated legs coming out of a body. So the body would be a more traditionally textured cable or bobble section, and then you've got the legs which come out using a slip stitch style of effect. And I've also seen someone do something similar with a Cyberman from Doctor Who. So there's all sorts of things that you can do once you actually understand how to cable over and above just the standard traditional cabling. Now, I can't actually see any comments at the moment, so I don't know whether anybody is out there asking me questions or not. But if you are, please... yeah, I can't see any questions coming up at all at the minute, so I'm sorry about that. If there are any questions, pop them down into the comments and I will address them. And that, I think, is really all I can say at the minute, because I haven't had anyone ask me questions. I had some lovely feedback, I've had some lovely replies and really nice comments on the video itself. So hopefully you are enjoying the jaunt into cables to start off with. And we're going to be moving on to a minaret cable tomorrow. Well, that'll be later on this afternoon for day 2. That'll be coming out at 5 o'clock, and that will look slightly more like a traditional cable as against just the slip stitch, but it's just building up towards, as I say, a more complex cable by the end of the week. And I think that's all there is. Oh, other than just to very briefly mention that there will be a knit along, which I'm going to be starting on the 17th of April, which will be a patched jumper, which will use all sorts of cabling techniques that we'll be covering in this course, and building on those for that particular pattern. But I think that's it for now. Nobody seems to have put any comments in. I don't know whether that's because it's a poor connection or whether that's just because you all understand everything because it's been written so wonderfully clearly. But I'm sure someone will let me know if there is an issue. So for now, I'll say bye-bye, and I will see you again lunchtime tomorrow. Bye for now.